Welcome to Pilot Season. I'm Daniel and I'm here with Julian
Happy to be here.
and Keddy.
Hello.
Every year, dozens of TV pilots get made, but only a handful ever make it to air. Most were destined to never be seen again, except by a few collectors, but thanks to the internet, decades of TV pilots are available for anyone to watch. Some are amazing, and you'll wish they had been made into a show. Some are terrible, and you'll know why they never were. Some, you'll wonder who even thought this was a good idea in the first place. So, in every episode of this podcast, I've picked out a pilot that I thought sounded interesting or weird, or in this case, astoundingly terrible on a fundamental level. And I've given it to Julian and Keddy to watch, and they're joining me now to talk about what they thought. I'm going to keep things moving with my own thoughts too, and occasional facts I've dug up in some pointless research into a TV show that never got made, which is actually kind of appropriate for the show we're doing today because it is the TV pilot based on the 1980s comedy Revenge of the Nerds, probably known by most people who are older for being an 80s comedy with homophobia and racism and even a rape scene, all played off for laughs, and younger people will probably just know it from the guy in the varsity jacket yelling nerds in a meme. I would say this particular sitcom, it's not as offensive as the movie in certain ways. In others, it offends me on a much deeper level as a creator. So,
Amen.
yeah, it was really bad. I was going to say I didn't know what you two thought, but it was one of the worst sitcom episodes I've ever seen in my life. I was astounded at how bad it was. So we're going to talk more about it in a second. To introduce yourselves, though, I did ask earlier this week if you had any favorite TV pilot of a show that actually made it to air. So do you have one, Keddy?
The Twin Peaks pilot
Uh-huh.
is pretty weird.
It is, yeah.
And
the whole
not
show.
quite like the show, and it doesn't really fit, but like in context, then it works,
Okay, and Julian?
I have to say, The Lost Room had me hooked after one episode or the one pilot, and
Oh yeah, that was so good. I wish that had been made into a show.
I'm just wondering, after watching a few of these, like whether it were movies first and made into shows, it just shows what a different technological period we were at back then.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was going to say before we got into this, what my favorite pilot was, and it's for a completely different reason. I don't recommend ever watching this show. The pilot's terrible, the show is terrible. I just love this for the audacity of it, which is that this is another movie tie-in. There was a Ferris Bueller's Day Off TV show. It's terrible.
No.
Yeah, never watch it. It is terrible. What I love, though, in the pilot is at the very beginning, whatever kid played Ferris Bueller, and I don't remember, stands next to a cardboard cutout of Matthew Broderick and cuts it with a chainsaw while saying that he's the real Ferris Bueller and the guy in the movie was all wrong. And like the audacity of that, I'll never forget it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. There should be more of that.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, really, they made that show. It was called Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
And Parker Lewis, I think, had already been on for a year, too. I think at least a year. Anyway,
right.
moving on to this, Revenge of the Nerds, for people who don't know the movie series, maybe they're younger. We all grew up in the 80s, so we know it, unfortunately, very well. It was sort of the nerd version of Animal House. It starred Robert Carradine, Anthony Edwards, and Curtis Armstrong, who's a personal favorite of mine as a character actor. The reason why this show got made, and also 3 sequels to Revenge of the Nerds got made, was that the movie had a budget of $6 to $8 million, and the box office, including video rentals, $60.4 million.
So, yeah, man.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, we can see why
it's a clever name.
Basically, yeah. This got this
the whole algorithm right there. That's insane.
Wasn't there an animated TV series too?
There probably was. I wouldn't be shocked.
I think there was.
There was an animated TV series of Rambo and RoboCop, so why not?
Yeah.
This pilot was made in 1991. The 4th Revenge of the Nerds movie was actually made in 1994. So they still were going after this disaster.
Wow.
Now, before we get into the actual show itself, I will say this had everything going for it other than the subject matter itself. But in terms of the team working on it, it was written by Eric Cohen. Now, Eric Cohen, I looked him up. He has 36 writing credits on the IMDb. He wrote multiple episodes of The Tonight Show. He wrote for The Golden Girls, The Nanny. He also wrote, out of 90 episodes, he wrote 75 episodes of Welcome Back, Kotter. So the writing should have been there. I don't know why it wasn't, but it should have been.
It was a hilarious show.
Yeah. And then Peter Baldwin, the director, 112 directing credits, including 13 episodes of Gomer Pyle, 21 episodes of Sanford and Son, and he even did 2 episodes of Alf. So, I mean, even in the 80s, he was still doing
a hot resume.
Yeah. So what happened, I don't know. Fans of the movie, if you exist, and I'm sorry you do, you will not be seeing several of the nerds from the movie. Larry Scott, who was Lamar, who was the black sort of gay stereotype guy, not in there. Poindexter, the weird quiet guy who played the violin, not in there. And then Toshiro, the Japanese stereotype guy, also not in there. So they only use 4 of the nerds, which gets even weirder as we go on. But let's go ahead and get into it. Is there anything you wanted to say before we started just about this pilot in general?
Well, the obscurity of it, what you were saying, I am flabbergasted that Revenge of the Nerds 4 was made in 94. I remember just like, maybe you were even with me when we were just like doing our shenanigans at the IU campus, and I ran into some college students who had said, have you seen Revenge of the Nerds 4? We were just like, I don't know, talking shit. And I, like, to my dying breath, insisted, I mean, this was a hill I was going to die on, that they had never made a Revenge of the Nerds 4, and I would have known about it. And this would have been in like 99 or 2000, just after I matriculated in IU. So, I mean, like, hindsight is Google, I guess. But I was so sure there couldn't be a Revenge of the Nerds 4 because 3 was so awful.
I think I only saw the first 2.
Yeah, me too. I saw the second one in the theater.
Okay.
I saw the third one, and it was so bad that it made me there couldn't be a 4th one.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the 4th one was a decade after the first one, so maybe they'd been, I don't know when the 3rd one was made, but, you know, they kept making Police Academy movies until, like, 10 or something, so.
I mean, at what point do these nerds being hell-bent on revenge, like, become a problem, right?
Yeah, you'd think after, a little bit of vengeance, they would be satisfied.
Yeah, you can't really go full vigilante justice.
When does it become Assault of the Nerds instead of
Revenge? Was there anything in general you wanted to say, Keddy, before we go into the show itself?
I mean, I think the real, like, shame of it is that it could have been really funny.
Yes.
They had everything there. They had all the... I mean, that's a meatball.
Yes.
Throwing them Revenge of the Nerds. Do Revenge of the Nerds as a sitcom. When I watched it, I thought this... maybe it was because of, like, the quality, but I thought, they could do this as a high school stage production.
Yes, absolutely.
And it would be hilarious.
It had, like, 5 scenes, 5 sets, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, just...
Yeah.
And I'll get into... There's some weirdness there that I will get into from my notes that I'm sure you guys noticed as well. And, yeah, it's... I don't know what to think about it. It baffled me when I saw it existed, and I had to share the pain.
Yeah. I mean, the movie, the first movie, for all its faults, is a product of its time, I guess, and, like, definitely a hilarious movie. It has its hilarious moments, No,
I will say...
I couldn't agree more. And, I mean, I was thinking about what you were saying about how it offends your sensibilities. One thing the movie doesn't have, I feel like the nerds are escaping into a fantasy world where they're the winners and there's some sense of, like, camaraderie with them. This, like, was, like, prototype incel culture. from
Yes.
watching.
Very much so. Very much. And yeah, that's, But I will say there were literally two things that did make me legitimately laugh while watching this, and I will mention those when we get to them. One of them, there's a weird thing with that too. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. So we will put a link to the YouTube video if you listening want to watch it. It's October 2025. It's there now, but with YouTube, you never know. It may disappear tomorrow. We'll go ahead and start. It started with this computer showing like the evolution of man, which looked okay, and then cut to some of the worst animation I have ever seen in my life, coupled with just a terrible song.
You know, Keddy, I felt like, you remember when we would hear like just a really, really horrible song and we were like, they must be making this up as they go along? That's what this song felt like to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, how did you get your tongue in both cheeks?
And then they have the cat sings part of the theme song themselves, which is weird.
He's got his asthma inhalers.
Yeah, and we'll get to the actual... and we'll get to the actual characters in a second here. So, just like in the movie, it takes place in Adams College. Adams College, from what I can tell, has about 30 students. It seems like it's smaller than most high schools. Yeah, so it starts with Lewis and Gilbert, the same two main characters, Anthony Edwards and Robert Carradine in the original movie. Lewis in this is played by Rob Stone, who he didn't do too much. He stopped acting soon after this, but anybody who remembers 80s sitcoms, he was the oldest son on Mr. Belvedere. So that's
oh yeah,
yep.
Oh yeah, he was.
Yeah, the nose is the giveaway. And then Gilbert, this is even weirder. Gilbert is played by Lightfield Lewis. Gilbert's main big credit was on the new WKRP. He played the son of Arthur Carlson, the owner of the station, who was still in the new WKRP show. So those were there.
Wow,
yeah.
I forgot all about that one.
Yeah, there.
Who plays Gilbert in the movie? Because he is a dead ringer.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards played Gilbert in the movie. It was like the start of his career. So yeah, basically the first part, basically the same as the first part of the movie. They move into their dorm. They have the worst posters I've ever seen. Again, looked like they were drawn by like a production assistant at the last minute. A lot of this looked like it was last minute. Just
Isn't
like the movie.
Supposed to, like, the whole genre of these types of pilots supposed to presuppose that we're nostalgic for Revenge of the Nerds? So why do they spend the first few minutes of the pilot just exactly explaining why they're in Adams College and all that's going to change from... I mean, it seems like they're spelling out the plot from the very beginning.
They have to do it just in case, somebody hasn't seen the movie, but for some reason wants to watch the pilot.
Yeah, I mean, they're pitching the show to the audience.
Yeah.
So there's got to be this kind of exposition. But it really, it feels like you're just seeing the Cliff Notes to
right.
the movie.
Exactly.
You're seeing the Cliff Notes, and like Cliff Notes written by someone who was like half paying attention and maybe kind of drunk.
It's just so abridged that.
Yeah. So then we have the jocks come in. Ted McGinley was in the main jock in the original movie as Stan. For some reason, he was renamed Todd for this. I have no idea why, but he was. Maybe Stan wasn't manly enough. I don't know. But anyway, this guy playing him, Sean Kanan, he is like Mr. Soap Opera. As a character named Deacon Sharp, he was in 125 episodes of The Young and the Restless, and then 1,049 episodes of The Bold and the Beautiful. On top of that, he was in 154 episodes of General Hospital as a character named A.J. Quatermain, and 55 episodes of another soap opera I've never even heard of before called Sunset Beach as a character named Jude Kavanaugh. Another really weird thing here, he was in both the Karate Kid 3 and the Cobra Kai TV series, but playing completely different characters.
Oh wait, who was he in Karate Kid 3?
Oh gosh! Of course, I didn't write that down, so you're going to have to look it up later. I'm sorry.
Oh no, but it's so confusing because he's a beefcake and he's so ogre-y. I couldn't picture him as Stan at all. He seemed much more ogre-y than Stan.
I just don't think it's hard to be super menacing when paired up against Ralph Macchio.
That's very true. I don't even remember The Karate Kid 3, to be honest. It's been so long since I've seen it, so...
Oh, it is such a beautiful movie. Like, Terry Silver, the bad guy in that movie, is just... It's just epic. There's no reason for him to be chasing around and tormenting teenagers doing karate. He's just...
Yeah. I saw that one in the theater, too. Yeah.
I did too. I just don't remember it. Anyway, so we have the jocks come in. The other main jock guy is Ogre. He was in the original. He was played by Donald Gibb. In this, he's played by Jeff Benson. Only a handful of credits. Basically, always playing that kind of role, big dumb jock guy. And then Ogre comes in carrying the other two nerds. Wormser is the little kid. He was originally played by Andrew Cassisi. I don't know. I'm sorry if I get your name wrong, and by some amazing miracle, you're listening. This is Grant Gelt. He was a child actor, did a lot of one-episode things. He was in both Tales from the Crypt and Erie, Indiana, which I love both of those shows, but just one-episode things. He gave up acting once he got older. Curtis Armstrong played Booger in the original. As I said, I love Curtis Armstrong. He was in Better Off Dead. He was in Moonlighting. I just really like him. But anyway, in this, he is played by Robbie Rist, 32 years old at the time of shooting. The guy who played Ogre is obviously up there, too. He's quite balding. But anyway, Robbie Rist is mainly a voiceover actor. Again, these will mean things to people, not me, but he was in 126 episodes of Naruto Shippuden, which I know is very popular anime. I've never watched it. His character is Choji Akemichi in that. And he's also in 130 episodes of something I have seen because I have a kid, Doc McStuffins. And he plays Snow Peeps and Stuffy in Doc McStuffins.
Wow.
So, yeah, very weird. And he, in this, is wearing the worst wig it's just such an obvious wig. It looks
like a Stephen Miller piece right there.
Yeah. It looks like a woman's wig. From a department store, which probably it was what it was. And also, he's also just nothing like Booger from the movie, even remotely.
Oh, if I can just quickly regress, Sean Kanan was the bad boy of karate, Mike Barnes in Karate Kid 3.
All right, okay.
And that was an amazing, amazing role. I just had to find that out because, my God, he lived. He Daniel LaRusso had a girlfriend that wasn't really his girlfriend because they wanted to really PG the movie, but for some reason she really beat the shit out of his girlfriend in the Karate Kid 3. So it was another progressive.
Yeah. 80s movie. Well, and this show itself gets pretty progressive later on, but I'm not even gonna read the jokes out.
There isn't a joke until 15 minutes into the episode.
Yeah, what they call jokes are just not jokes, and the laugh track is it's just so bad. Whoever did the laugh track didn't care, as far as I could tell. They just did not
what do you call these jokes? They're oh boyisms, or they're just explaining the plot, like you said.
Right. So Wormser, the little kid, at one point, this just annoyed me because they're supposed to be nerds. Wormser says that Ogre's skull looks like one that was recently discovered in the La Brea tar pits. And as a nerdy person myself, they have never discovered any human skulls of any sort in the La Brea tar pits. It's never happened. True. That just pissed me off. And then,
good catch. Wow.
Yeah. And just soon after that, when Ogre throws Gilbert out the window, it's just a really obvious dummy. It made me laugh because it was just a super obvious dummy. Okay, so we'll move on to scene 2 where things are slightly different. We have the cheerleaders. The main one, unfortunately, only gets credited as cheerleader. But who that is really interesting. In the original movie, that I assume would have been Betty, who was the main character in the movie, who unfortunately is the subject of the rape joke. But in this, it's Julie McCullough. Now, the interesting thing about Julie McCullough is she was on Growing Pains, and she was Kirk Cameron's girlfriend and was going to be a major character on the show until she was Playboy Playmate of the Month in 1986. And Kirk Cameron, being the good little Christian boy he is, threw a huge fit and had her kicked off the show. And this was the next thing.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, this was the next
Wow.
thing she did right after that.
Wow.
Now, to her credit, she is still a working actor. She's done tons of stuff, so she rebounded pretty well. But yeah,
She dodged a bullet.
the cheerleaders, the place where they are in baffles me. They call it the student union, and it is one room that is a commons / library / lounge / gift shop. But it's not a bookstore because Ogre and Todd were just in the bookstore. There's a line about that because Ogre doesn't realize what a bookstore is because he's that stupid, I guess. So whatever this place is, it's very weird. This is like the one-room student union that just is everything. It's just the most... It was like because they didn't want to make a bunch of different sets, they decided to have this like nonsensical set from a college that's like the size of a building.
Yeah, and why not have any crowds or students walking on campus? I mean,
Right.
really, the lack of effort here is incredible.
Right,
It
right.
almost needs to be applauded.
Right. There's a thing that you do when you shoot video called B-roll. You get footage from, stuff like people walking across campus. And they could have really inserted something like that. Even they could have gotten like stock footage and done that as B-roll and just put that in there. But they
wouldn't
didn't.
have been hard.
They did not bother doing it.
I think maybe if hindsight was 2020, they would have fixed the problem without having any women characters other than cheerleader.
Yeah. Well, there's another one who does get a name, which is
really?
the one with the brown hair. I don't remember her name now, but it's nothing. She gets a name, but the main one doesn't. So go figure. That's the 80s for you. I did forget to say, since we're talking about the cheerleaders now, in the first scene, this was another thing that really bothered me. Gilbert is so terrified of women that he literally cannot say the word woman. And then right after that, they work out a system of like putting the tie on the door if one of them's in there with a girl, and suddenly Gilbert is able to say the word girl. Like, just immediately says the word girl after that. And then he's scared of women again when the cheerleaders are there. So that was mystifying.
That's supposed to be the big gag with his character, yeah.
Yeah, but it just disappears. It's just bizarre. Also, they are called the nerds in this scene multiple times, which I guess means they are literally the nerds in Adams College.
Yeah, I mean...
Quickly, didn't they just meet?
Yes, they just met. But everyone knows who they are anyway.
That's the thing. I mean, before it even starts, this scenario is just completely implausible.
Right.
Like there's in no reality would these kind of social groups be this defined.
Yes.
And like galvanized against each other. I have a hard time believing anything in human history even comes close to this being reality, which like is kind of the charm of it.
Yeah, and like the cheerleader, literally, she says, like, we pick on them because they're nerds. Like, this is the grand order of things. So Booger is going to flirt with the cheerleaders just to show Gilbert that it can be done. But instead of flirting with the cheerleaders, what he does, I guess because he's Booger and he's disgusting, he grabs a half-eaten burger off a tray and then squirts most of a bottle of ketchup in his mouth and just sits down. Like, there's no flirting at all. It's just... But I guess we find out later he's a total incel, so maybe it kind of makes sense.
I mean, there's just no humor to it.
Yeah,
like,
no.
It really is like they just made that up and like, what do I do?
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
So much has to happen so quickly here.
Yes, it's really sped up because they have to get through the whole movie in like most of the episode and barely can do it.
What would episode of 2 have looked like? Because to my mind, they gave everything away.
Maybe we can talk about that at the very end, but something here that really bothered me was the joke with the little kid, Wormser, staring like right at the cheerleaders tits like 4 inches away from her, and I was just like picturing that child actor
Is that
being...
where he says, I don't even know what sex is yet? And like, oh man, he's
No,
11
that's...
years old and he still wants to get some, but he doesn't know what it is because his biological functions
that's
are
the
not
next...
there yet.
That's the next scene. This scene, I just felt really sorry for this little kid being told, like stand directly in front of this really beautiful, older woman's tits and stare at them. But then he also, the joke is he looks at her, she has atoms on her cheerleader sweater, and he says nice pair of A's because of the A's and atoms, but they don't line up with her tits. And it, again, just annoyed me that there was just like this level of not caring. So yeah, this next part was what you're talking about, where they're asked whether or not they've had sex, and he says he doesn't know what sex is when they're in the shower.
That's right. This is the hazing ritual already, which is just incredible.
Yes.
It's like cut to 5 minutes later.
And this looks like they actually shot this in an actual shower, like not a set, so there's probably one less built set. They're in a shower, but water is being thrown on them, so maybe it is a set. I don't understand that. And then the other thing is that you see egg all over their shirt, but then they're handed the eggs after that and made to put it on their head.
There's continuity error there. Right. I noticed that when I watched it.
And then Ogre's wearing this like World War I helmet, and I'm trying to figure out, like, does that signify that he's like into Hell's Angels, or did the costumer think that was what Nazis wore, and that's why he's that was just a very weird, like, random.
I mean, I'm pretty sure those guys were majoring in like eugenics. So.
Probably. Oh, okay. So you find out they've been tarred and feathered, right? That would be like, they'd be covered in burning pitch, right? They're like 90% of their body has like 4th degree burns on it, and they're fine.
You'd be in agony.
Yeah, they're fine. It's fine.
No, this is the kind of fun tar and feathering that happens.
Yeah.
This is a rite of passage that I had to go through in college, and honestly, I'm just tired of all the wokeness. I mean, what the hell? You can't even tar and feather people in the first day of meeting them in college anymore.
Oh, the other thing, when they come in, the laugh track, this is like the supreme moment of the laugh track not giving a shit. The laugh track abruptly, just like a straight cut, laugh to cheer, like in the middle of the laugh. So it was like a really bad cut. And neither the laugh or the cheer makes any sense. It was like, ha ha ha, cheer. It was like quick cut from laugh to cheer. It was really weird.
It's funny at first because it's tarred and feathered nerds, but then you clap because they're your heroes.
This is also the scene with the terrible Shakespeare part where they like do the Merchant of Venice, but it takes like 10 times longer than the original speech.
Yeah.
And as somebody who doesn't like Shakespeare to begin with, that was like agony for me. So this next part, is this part racist? This is like the discussion that I need to have about this next scene where they're in with the president of the Tri-Lambda Black fraternity. I
don't see how it could be any more racist other than just trying to cloak it in a veneer of, oh, these are the awkward, innocent people who are trying to like level up to the cool fraternity person, but every way in which they do that is just right. I don't know. A good reason to get canceled.
Oh, absolutely. Now, none of it would go. But I mean, it's like, I just, like, I feel like it's racist adjacent, if that makes sense.
Corporate training video against racism in the early aught years, maybe.
Well, I think the most racist part for me, or the part that I was just like, oh my God, was Worms are going, let's get busy, and doing the Arsenio fist bump. I just I couldn't believe that. On the other hand, I will say this scene did have the one joke that legitimately made me laugh out loud. There was another one I thought, okay, that's pretty funny. The one joke was P.T. Turner, who I'll talk about that actor in just a second because we're talking about every major actor. P.T. Turner says to Gilbert, "You call that a chest?" And Gilbert says, "Well, actually, it's just a place to hang my nipples." That made me laugh.
There you go. That's the one joke.
Yes. That was the
That
one
was
joke.
the joke.
Exactly.
I was like, there was one joke in this show.
Yeah.
It came 15 minutes in, and that was it.
There's one more I will give it. I will give it credit for one more joke later in the show.
I'm going to argue that that the whole premise with the black fraternity in the movie, and here it's kind of virtually anti-racist, because they end up all partying together and having a good time, and you know, they're allies.
I think calling it anti-racist is a bit generous.
Yeah.
Let me say, P.T. Turner, he's the one, like, totally original character for this. The sort of military sarge guy, the Tri-Lam, who's going to get them all shipshape. He's played by Richard Gant, usually plays a cop in shows, just a working actor. He's been in tons of stuff.
He was in Die Hard 2.
Was he? Okay. Yeah, I'm sure he's been in like so many. I couldn't pick out like one credit for him, so I was just like, he's played a cop in like 24 shows, so I didn't really have him. Oh, right after this, wherever they found, I will say, the picture of the frat house that they used, it was an impressively wrecked building. I was just impressed at how wrecked the building was. There it is. That's I don't think that's a model. I think that's an actual building, because you can see the clouds.
Right before the scene, what was the loophole? There was like some loophole that got them into the fraternity that made absolutely no sense. But like when they
have a clause.
Yeah.
In
they
their
have to get a
bylaws
60-day trial membership.
So it's the same as in the movie.
Yes.
Okay.
I honestly have blocked out most of the movie. Because it's just a terrible movie, but not as bad as this. So let's see. Next part is inside their frat house, which, as their sets go, was probably their best built set.
It almost looked like the house from the movie.
It was pretty close. Yeah, they did a pretty good job with that. Maybe eventually they would have built bedroom sets, I assume. We didn't get to see them this time. I will say, after seeing the corpse outline, I was like, wouldn't it be fun if they gave them a ghost friend, too?
Yeah.
It pissed me off that Gilbert and Lewis experiment on their hamster, even though they used like the stunt hamster joke. But he also says that they experiment on him, like the tests we ran on you. It's like our heroes are cruel to animals.
Well, and you know, again, it goes into the implausibility of the whole thing, because really, if these guys were that fucking nerdy, they would have gotten to college and hid the books and gone straight to work, and been hyper productive, not messing around with this kind of nonsense.
Yeah, their whole raison d'etre is to do everything that the jocks do.
Right.
I mean, like, the premise is so outlandish.
Well, because the jocks are superior inherently. I mean, that's what you're supposed to get out of that in some way.
I feel like the one thing that could have saved this pilot is that they had some kind of introduction of the Omega Moos, or some kind of women who were nerdy in their own right, because just like the overt sexism in this pilot is just
it's awful,
spellbinding.
It's really, and it gets worse and worse too. This is the part where they introduce the remote control that like jerks you into good shape. The first time I watched it, I thought there was two parts of it, like they had to put another part of it on you, but apparently not. Apparently you just point it and it works. So that just confused me. And also I just had to say I watched it twice, because I had to tell someone I suffered through that. Okay, so this is the one other joke I thought was pretty funny, but I will say one thing about it. It's when the brick comes through the window, and they're reading the note on the brick, and it says, continued on next brick, and then another brick comes, and there's another message. And I think that's a legitimately funny joke. But here's the thing. I swear, and I've asked multiple other people, and they could swear too, that they have heard that joke somewhere before, but no one I've asked could figure out where it's from.
Yeah, I mean, that's an old one. Yeah, I mean, that could have been in a comic strip or something.
I've been searching on Google for it. I have not been able to figure out where it's from. But like,
it sounds kind of like Bugs Bunny or something. Like it could be like wait for the next message, or even like the Roadrunner and Coyote or something.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it like rings like a Looney Tunes joke.
It does, but I mean, it was definitely, my memory was something almost exactly in that situation, like rock thrown through window or brick thrown through window, and then continued on next brick or continued on next rock.
The brick gag is more like something that they would even do on The Simpsons or something.
Then there's a joke after this, which would go totally different today. But I thought it was interesting that after this, he talks about like how like nerds are beaten up all the time and they never get over it, and then they go to work for the U.S. government and end up making weapons of mass destruction. And I was thinking, like, 5 years after this it would have been, and then they become like Silicon Valley billionaires.
Yeah.
But also they're like making weapons of mass destruction, making them into a joke. Like Gilbert even does this bomb thing. And I was like, Jesus, like every time I'm like, can this get in any worse taste? The answer is yes.
It's like a bad ham.
Yeah. And then there's 2 more scenes, thank God, only, and one's very short. And then the Adams College, they cut back to, I guess it's just one building, because they just show the one building, which looks like a museum. I don't know. It really confused me.
But that's the one, like, outside shot like that.
Yes. It's the one time. Well, you see the gates of Adams at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even bother establishing the campus. It's that cheap. But anyway, this is like the weird incel-y part that starts where Booker says he wants to be under a pile of collapsed cheerleaders after they fall down making their pyramid. Where I'm like,
yeah.
Like, that sounds like a weird perverse thing, but it also like sounds like not a perverse thing at all, because how is that like any sort of like gratification thing? It's not like they're all like, rubbing themselves all over him. They've fallen on top of him. And then Todd, for some reason, they're doing their yearbook portraits. For some reason, Todd isn't wearing shoulder pads, but all the other jocks are in their football uniforms. Todd doesn't have to wear them. Maybe they just completely given up by this point. They're like, this show has like 5 minutes left. We might as well just give up now.
Which looks like they maybe didn't have him in his size.
Oh, that could be. PT said, this is another thing about this weird room. Okay, so PT says he hopes the campus store has body bags when they say they can handle it. He can see that store behind them, and he can see what's in it. So that can't be the campus store. I think it's just a gift shop. That's all I can think. It's not the bookstore. It's not the campus store. It's got to just be a gift shop. They've got like teddy bears and stuff.
And you've already verified that this writer definitely did graduate from a college somewhere. So,
well, maybe we'd hope, but I don't know. So this part, they play the theme from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So out of cheaping out on everything else, they licensed some music.
That sound bullish.
Yeah, that was, and then, at the end, they get their revenge by using the electric device that is supposed to make you exercise, but apparently makes everybody collapse. And it also, they have to use multiple ones for some reason they don't make clear why. So that was all, none of that made any sense. So yeah, I kind of feel like they just gave up at this point.
This is like the comedic equivalent of throwing a toaster in a swimming pool and electrocuting people.
Yes.
I think they didn't know how to end it because it's so, they didn't know how to end this episode. They threw in the bit with the hamster and they threw this in.
Yeah.
I mean.
And then they have this guy at the very end who's the football player who wraps his legs over his shoulders, like while wearing the shoulder pads. And I just wanted to give that guy a shout out because that was really impressive. So whoever you are, like, I'm really impressed. I'm sorry you have this on your resume, but I'm very impressed.
Guess even then it would have been horrible if they'd have just like tased him.
Well, they kind of did.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what happens at the end is they hit them with a taser and then weirdly, unlike any other sitcom of the era, it goes to credits and then there's a post-commercial scene. It ends with like we said, like the super incel moment where Booger gets under them and they all collapse on him, and then he tries to kiss them. And that's how it ends. It's like, let's end with sexual assault. Thankfully, we are done with this. We don't have to talk about any more of what we saw. The end guitar music I thought was at least tolerable. That was the last note I had, was the end guitar music is tolerable.
I just wonder, have any of these, like, what's been the most successful of all of these, like, TV movie pilots? Has there been one that's, I guess maybe like Fargo or something? I just can't, I just don't see where the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow could have come from.
They did it with movies all the time back then. They had like MASH, you know?
Yeah, I mean, MASH was good. So, I mean, sometimes it works. But I'd say 90% of the time it does not work. I think the other thing they would do now is they would make it like a continuation, even if it was different actors.
That would make a lot more sense.
Yeah. Like, here's what happened next. But also, you know, now people can look up.
Or like even like the backstory, like the nerds in high school.
You were talking about, like, what would you think a second episode would be? Because I honestly cannot imagine. I can't imagine where they would go from here. Other than just repeat the same thing over and over, which I guess they did do with some sitcoms of the era.
Yeah, I mean the permutations of nerd versus jock at college. I mean, you could really go a lot of places with that. And you could have a bunch of different scenarios. I mean, that's no different than any other, you know, the actual, like, idea there. They didn't have the actors. They didn't have the right. I mean, there was nothing there to make that happen.
But, I mean, that's the weird part. They did have the actors, and they did have the writer. And that's the part that just mystifies me.
They just didn't put any effort into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe this was deliberate, and maybe they were saving us. Maybe they gave everything away. This was an intentional. I mean, my conspiracy theory is that they were intentionally giving everything away in the first pilot, because if they did not stop this, they knew the powder keg of incel runoff and culture that would have come from making this a regular series.
Well, you have given me a theory. I think we can close out with my theory, because you just gave it to me. Do you know about the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie that was made in the 90s?
I saw the new one, but not really.
Oh, no. Okay. In the 90s, Roger Corman had the rights to the Fantastic Four, and they were about to expire. So he basically just made a movie and never released it, just so that he could, like, have the rights, or like some legal thing like that. So I'm wondering, now that you say that, if this was whatever production company owned the rights to this property and had to do something with it, or they would lose the rights.
That sounds right on the nosy.
Yeah. So, I think that could very well be it. So, rather than save us, save themselves.
Yeah, I mean, probably it was super rushed.
Yeah.
You know, and they were like, oh, we got to do this. We've got 2 weeks to do it.
Yeah, I think that's...
let's put it together.
All right, well, I think we're good. I think we can wrap this up here, because we have gotten through the pain. I don't know if there's anything either of you want to say, but...
I mean, I don't think there's anything else that should be said about it, and I just hope that it lapses into the obscurity that it so richly deserved.
Well, we're probably doing the opposite of what should be done in that
by
case.
Calling attention to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel completely reborn and cleansed. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. So, okay, well, thank you very much, and both of you, Keddy and Julian, for doing this with me, and thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will catch you next time.